I use a analogy of like you have to forgive your younger self,
Mhm.
believe in your current self, and create your future self. So I really didn't go to people and go, "Hey, I'm so sorry for that. I'm, you know, forgive me for this." That just wasn't my journey. My journey, I had to look in the mirror and forgive myself for what I created and forgive myself for my failed marriages and forgive myself for not being present, forgive myself for not being the best dad and forgiving myself not being the best employee and friend and on and on and on. And that's a really tough thing.
Welcome to the Sober Edge podcast, inspiration for alcohol free living. I'm your host, Teri Patterson, functional nutritionist and This Naked Mind senior coach. The Sober Edge is a place to explore the infinite possibilities on the other side of drinking. In a culture soaked in booze, discover the wonder and joy of taking a different path. Meet real people living lives of purpose and passion. Learn the truth behind the alcohol myths and get ready to be motivated, inspired, and astounded by what is possible with the Sober Edge. Well, hey everyone, it's Teri back with another edition of the Sober Edge podcast. And I have just met a really cool guy, and I get to introduce him to you, which is one of the favorite things I do in my podcast here. So, Ian Fee is an author, he's an entrepreneur, he is a passionate individual who has written a book called Wild Ride to Sobriety. So, let's start there. Welcome to the podcast, Ian.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, and I called you an entrepreneur because I know you said you aren't monetizing your current passion around alcohol freedom, but I see that spark in your eyes that you are making big connections and you are thinking about how you can have an impact. And I think that's amazing. And one of the things that I'll say that I have found is that this is for me, it's a business, but it's also a passion. And I'm so fortunate to have the intersection of the two. But I think that all good things happen on the other side of sobriety, which is something you said as we were just introducing ourselves to one another. Yes?
For sure, absolutely. There was nothing good that came out of alcohol for me.
Yeah. So tell me about the title of your book because I love it. And you've got like a little boy cowboy with a fake mustache on the front of the book. And he's like, he looks like he's a bad boy. So why Wild Ride?
Well, it was a pretty wild ride for me. It was just very like a heart monitor, up and down, from emotions to relationships to drinking to like every, piece of that was just very wild. It was very, if I had a party at my house on a Wednesday, which was very common, it was 4 or 5 days a week, um, it would end at 1 or 2, not have a couple drinks and go to bed. It would be like, "How do we just keep this thing going? Let's just," I was the gasoline to the fire. Um, so I thousands and thousands of names of sitting around a table, my book writer, my kids, um, and that just kind of popped up. And then the picture that is actually a real picture of me. I'll send it to you when we're done here. A real picture of me in Bellingham, Washington, and I think I was 8 or 9 years old. And I had to filter the picture a little bit. It is, it's all real. The cowboy hat, the mustache. It's a real Marlboro. It's a real banquet of beers, can of beer, and 6 shooters on my side. And the picture that's cut off is I actually peed my pants, which is kind of fitting for the whole book.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it was just been an absolute wild ride to get to sobriety and just the carnage left behind in that journey and the wild ride is just it kind of summed it up for me.
Yeah, it really intrigued me because I've read a lot of Quit Lit and I know a lot of authors and have championed their work and their message. And it's just a very raw, real depiction of getting to this place where the transformation happens. And for you, we just connected over our soberversary date, which I love. We are 1 day apart and 1 day and 2 years apart. So Ian is tracking very close to me at 8 years alcohol free. So one of the things I'm curious about, I can tell you have a natural energy spark. We have the same sort of vibration going on here via Zoom. But sometimes, like you said, the emotions, everything was just like a heart monitor, up and down, up and down, up and down. sometimes people talk about this part of their journey when they stop drinking is they feel flat. And what has that been like for you as the emotions sort of started to regulate? What have you noticed and how do you now embrace that less of the roller coaster and more of the peace?
I think in the beginning, or I don't think, I know in the beginning when you get sober and you actually have to deal with emotions and you don't really realize that alcohol is numbing a lot of stuff that you just might not even know. Um, and for me, it was sitting in my dirty diaper of emotions,
Mhm.
of having to feel stuff, having to cry, having to be sad, having to be happy. Um, and for booze, for me, it was like a heart monitor. And I got story in my book. I had my kids write, and my daughter writes is like, I didn't know what kind of dad I was going to get when I got home. Was he the happy dad? Was he the sad dad? Was he the mad dad? Was he what was I going to get when I get home? And getting sober, you have to sit with those emotions that we numb, and I didn't even realize I was numbing. Um, and to feel those, and it's okay to feel them and accept them. And now I'm kind of a flat line. I'm not erratic. My kids know exactly what they're going to get when dad gets home. Um, People that I work with know exactly what they're going to get when I'm engaged in business. So it's so relieving too, right? Because in my drinking days, you look at your phone and be like, "Oh shoot, who did I text and what did I say? Are you kidding me?" So all those regrets and like, "Oh my gosh, I gotta apologize to that person, that person, that person, that person," which just consumes your day or your morning. And I have no more of that, so it's super freeing. Um, to sit with those emotions. And I managed through that. I have a really amazing circle of friends, which I think is probably the most important thing in all aspects of life. Whether you're struggling with relationships, sobriety, addiction, business, I don't care what it is, kids, your circle makes you. It's that old saying of like, show me your five friends, I'll show you your future.
Mhm.
So I I kind of believe that, but I live it now. I saw it as a vision, but now I live it. So that was super important for me coming out of rehab. My core was so big, and I also got a therapist. People are like, "Oh, a therapist? What's wrong?" In my generation in the '70s, if you had a therapist, there was a problem.
Mm.
And if you look at it today, you can call it a life coach, you can call it whatever term you want. That term therapist has a stigma in my generation for sure. But if you look at athletes or people that are trying to be better at speaking or whatever, they all have coaches. And I got a really good coach that helped me named Angie that I talk to every Wednesday that just life, business, kids, relationships, booze. It's just so healthy to let that out, especially for males. I think more males are so that we just suppress stuff,
Mhm.
right? Um, and for men, man, you got to get that out, or have a good circle of people that you can friend circle even too that you can laugh with and cry with. Man, you got to get some of that stuff out of your system for sure. I know that was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I love that you talk about, the tools you've used in your journey, having a therapist, having a life coach, having a circle, because we sometimes, maybe explore the fact that we wanna change our relationship with alcohol, and we maybe even know why, but we don't always know how. And for me, when I stopped drinking 10 years ago, the rise of what is now available, I mean, it's night and day. The difference of the Sober Curious movement happened, a few years after I stopped drinking. And so there are so many more touch points to how this might work. There's apps that are out there, there's life coaches, there's alcohol freedom coaches, there's online groups, there's in-person groups that look different, and I was sort of I'll just say I was intimidated and afraid to go to a 12-step program, and so I was gonna avoid that at all costs, so I just muscled my way through, white-knuckled long enough to where things felt so good that I was like, "I'm just gonna keep going. This no longer feels like I'm white-knuckling it." But I think it's really powerful what you said about men, because I think that in addition to most of us using alcohol to maybe numb some of the harder emotions or avoid some hard conversations, men in particular have been sold a bill of goods that sharing your emotions or talking about your emotions or being soft is not acceptable. And it's just unfortunate because it puts them in a place where being vulnerable can be really, really uncomfortable. And, you know, Brene Brown gives us the beautiful gift of the language she shares around shame and vulnerability that, when we use vulnerability, it's a shame killer. And so many of us come out of our alcohol and drinking and over drinking days with some regrets and remorse and even shame. And being able to process that in real time, whether it's with one human or a circle or a group, is so, so valuable.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Absolutely. It's that community, right? It's like, you know, the community that we have in the podcast world and just that sober curious community. It's like people strive and beg for that community even though they don't realize it sometimes.
Yeah, so speaking of vulnerability, like putting a book out in the world, like now you're wearing your sobriety out loud. Everybody knows Ian's story. What was the scary part of that for you?
Um, None of it really. It was it was actually freeing, to be honest with you. It's like I thought little old ladies journaled at 85. Um, and I found a ghostwriter and we met hundreds and hundreds of times, a lot of writing, which I'm not a writer. If I wrote the book, it would be 2 pages and look like a caveman wrote it. Uh, it was so therapeutic for me to just it was so freeing and just letting all those emotions out in a and it I am naked in the book. I tell you there is I'm an open book, literally. Like it is all out there from I can admit that I was 2 failed marriages. I can own that. Um, a lot of people could point fingers and be like, "Well, there's other people responsible." Hey, you know what? I was the drunken idiot in the relationship. I was the problem. If I wasn't drinking, everything would have been different in my business, my relationship with my kids, everything. And I talk a lot about my kids, about being present, because it's so important. There's a big difference of being there and being present. I was there at kids' baseball games and events, but I was also the guy in the stands that made sure everybody had a red Solo cup and their drink was full, whatever it may be. It could be beer. If it was in the morning, we were having coffee and Baileys. If it was after 1, we were doing vodka sodas. And if it was after 4, we'd go to Coors Light. I had everybody in the stands super happy as the kids behind me are playing sports.
Mm.
So there's a big difference of being there and being present, which I learned writing the book of how important that really is. Um, so yeah, it's all out there in the book, and I had no fear. That's a great question. If anything, I had relief.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you talk about some hard moments, and I'm wondering where the emotion of regret has what that's played in your life as you think about those things in the past, because it's something I talk with clients about a lot, and it can be something that people have a hard time moving away from. So I want to know what that process has been like for you.
Uh, I use a analogy of like you have to forgive your younger self,
Mhm.
believe in your current self, and create your future self. So I really didn't go to people and go, "Hey, I'm so sorry for that. I'm you know, forgive me for this." That just wasn't my journey. My journey, I had to look in the mirror and forgive myself for what I created and forgive myself for my failed marriages and forgive myself for not being present, forgive myself for not being the best dad and forgiving myself not being the best employee and friend and on and on and on. And that's a really tough thing, I think, for people to look at and own your own shit. You have to look at the mirror and go, it's on me. Whatever that is. It could be alcoholism, addiction, relationship, what kids, I don't care what it is. You have to look in the mirror and go, it's on me. It's on me to change. It's on me to better. Uh, I think our society gets so victimized
Mhm.
that it's everybody else's fault. It's my boss's fault. It's my kid's fault. It's my wife's fault. It's my boyfriend's fault, whatever the case may be. And if we stop that, our whole world would be better if we looked in the mirror and go, it's on me. What can I do to be better? And so I didn't have a lot of those I'm sorry's, I please forgive me. I think I did that silently by my actions. Um, because words are words, right? And my kids saw me change. The people that I really care about, I know they absolutely love and support the person that I am today and the person that I want to be. So I kind of just dug down, looked at in the mirror, be like, this is on me. Everything else will just kind of fall into place. Um, and I think people silently forgave me for some of my rude comments or, you know, this and that. And maybe some still hold on to stuff of like, that guy was a prick 10 years ago. Well, I'm not the guy I was 10 years ago, and I know that. Um, so it's a lot of you really have to dig in and forgive yourself.
Yeah, thank you for that because, like I said, I've talked to people that can get stuck in that place, and it does involve self compassion and understanding that is the old version of me. And yes, those things happened. However, what I get to focus on now is the present and the future. Like you said, I love that line. I forgive my past self. I believe in my current self, and I create my future self. That's a beautiful line. So thank you for that gift. And also just understanding, like Brene Brown again says, regrets point us to the things that are most important. They show us, they highlight the things that we don't want to repeat, the same patterns, mistakes. And when we're drinking and over drinking, we keep falling in that same hole. And so, when we're moving out of that and we're creating this new relationship with ourselves, we have the opportunity to say, like, oh, yeah, that is not something I have to keep repeating. That's regret. I actually am looking toward what's happening now, and I'm celebrating the progress I've made. So, yeah, I think that's just an incredible perspective and so valuable.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about you have a maybe it's a passion project called Make It Great. Tell us
hmm
about that.
It actually started in rehab. Um, just again, I got that energy and vibe. Um, so when I was sitting in rehab, I would be the guy that'd be like order Starbucks for people, and at night, if we're watching a movie, it'd be like, "Hey, what does everybody want for blizzards? I got blizzards coming." So I just kind of created this community and sped up relationships just a little faster. I'm good at it. And there's a smokers lounge out back, which I'm not a smoker, but everybody goes sit out there. So I wanted to feel part of the community. And we're just sharing stories and a couple people like, man, the energy you have with people, you just make people feel great. Um, so it kind of all started like, why don't we form our own community and call it Make It Great when we get out of here? Because we're all trying to move in the right direction. And one of the gals scratched into the wood table the logo that I have, which is really the Olympic Mountains. So it kind of the foundation of that was there. Just go be better every day. Go make somebody feel good today. So that's kind of where the mantra came. I really haven't done anything with it. Yeah, there's a website and there's some cool hoodies that I give away to people because I love it. So yeah, that's where it all started. And then my kids, when they were just getting out of college, we were going to do some speaking gigs, which we did at some high schools of just the passion of just be great, be good, be kind. Just the power of that energy that you bring to the table um, can make a difference in somebody's life. So that's kind of where that whole foundation of Make It Great started.
Very cool. Well, and you know what I think is so special about that, Ian, is that we think of people who come through this journey to alcohol freedom and maybe a dark journey. And I did not go to rehab, but you did. And we think that the culture tells us that you're going to be a slave to your thoughts about drinking. And it's going to be this really tough journey. And, alcohol's out in the parking lot doing push ups. And that is no way aligned with Make It Great. Like that, I just love the antithesis of what we see in, people outside of the sober curious or alcohol free movement maybe think of that traditional narrative around it. And I think it's really powerful that you came out of rehab and created that or created it in rehab because I've I have a family member, close family member that struggles with AUD and has gone the traditional route of rehab and, had legal consequences due to drinking and all of the above, the darker side of that story. And some of the people that I've met in rooms with my family member are in kind of that place where I was miserable drinking and I'm miserable not drinking. And the idea of make it great is very different than that. So
Mhm.
how is your philosophy? Were you always that person, or was it through this struggle with AUD?
I think I was always that person that had that energy and to take it to the next level. And I used booze. Well, I thought booze was my superpower. Right out of high school, going into college, get people into bars. I built my business by going to bars, fancy dinners, martini lunches, um, all of that. And it was all centered around booze. So I was like, booze is my superpower, man. If I can get people and we drink and great, I'd close business. I get people out and drink. I have a new awesome relationship that leads to another. So I thought booze was my superpower, which was absolutely crazy to think today because without booze, my business is better. I have more energy than what I did when I was drinking. I have more fun not drinking. I feel great in the morning. Um, so it's crazy to look back and go, man, I wasted so many hours. I did the math not too long ago. I've spent over $1 million on booze in 34 years. $1 million. I sure love to have that today. Fancy dinners, Caymus wines, uh, buying bar tabs at kids' parties, $2,000 at a fraternity party at college is like, I'll take care of it, no problem. $1 million. Um, so yeah, the time, the money, um, everything has gotten better. But I'm getting on a tangent. Back to the make it great. Sorry. Um, I always kind of had that energy um, and vibe with me, but it was a shield of, like, what I was really feeling inside. I felt empty. We had nice houses, nice cars, making good money, but there was this emptiness, and I think I needed to fill it with booze to numb me and have these my social network of people. I could have a party going in 5 minutes at my house and have 26 people there having a ball. Today, my circle is so small, it's insane. Um, so yeah, that whole make it great is like, how can you go make a difference? I think I had that in the beginning, but it was so numbed and it's like going down the HOV lane with emergency brake on. I had it there, but I just booze was holding me back of what my passion was and like the real me. Um, so it's great to kind of shield that army and booze is not my superpower. And to make it great is just a whole other meaning today of what I was thinking I was trying to do back in the day of making people feel good but it was all centered around booze. And I really wasn't because the next day I'd have to be like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry what I said to your wife. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry." Um, I don't have all those regrets. So it's a way different version of me that I think is better.
Yeah, that's so cool. I say sobriety is my superpower, and I've said that for a while. In fact, I always joke that Brene Brown says it too. I think she got it from me, but then I found out she's like 20 years more sober than I am, so she probably said it first. But what I love about that, Ian, is it's very poignant what you shared about the connection that you used to build those relationships was based on alcohol, which is that false promise
Mhm.
not really present. We don't know if people are showing up because we're buying them free drinks or there's a true connection there. And then, as alcohol does impact us and we have lowered inhibitions and we have, less cognitive processing, we are showing up in ways that are not creating true lasting friendships and they're not it's not a solid foundation in which to build things even though for a while it looks like the martini lunches are leading to the big deals. It's really really important to reframe that and so yeah
For sure.
yeah yeah, booze was the superpower. Yeah, no, the false connector.
Yeah.
So interesting. Yeah, yeah. And so, You were sharing with me before I hit record that you just kind of are sort of a natural coach and mentor to people, that you are connecting with a lot of people in the early stages, either they find you through your book or your social media accounts. If someone comes to you and says, "How do I do this?" What is your first couple of things you invite them to consider doing?
Um, the biggest thing for me is their circle, and I'll use this one story of one of my sons, who's will be 30 this year. One of his good friends at my book launch um, goes, "Hey, I'm ready to quit," and he thinks he's ready to quit. What do I need to do? I'm like, "Your circle is your problem," and it absolutely is his problem. Get off work, they go drink, smoke some weed, play video games, rinse and repeat, 6 days a week. Your circle is your problem, kid. Get out of your circle. It's going to be really, really, really uncomfortable, but you have to get uncomfortable for change to happen. Um, and until somebody's ready, it's like we could teach them and guide them and all the benefits of sobriety, but until somebody looks in the mirror and is like, I'm done. I need to make a change. And unfortunately, a lot of people make changes when something catastrophic happens, right? Divorces, car accident. I mean, something catastrophic has to happen before it like shocks their nervous system to change. So the sober curious movement, there's so many of those people that are like, I want to dabble a little bit, but I like my martini lunches, or I like my Sunday brunch with the girls, and I really don't want to mess that up. Um, right? I mean, I have so many of those conversations with people, and it's always 2 days after, like, "Well, that was horrible, something bad happened," or "I was mean to my husband," or "I was mean to my wife," or just all these stories, and it's like, when you're ready, you're ready. Like, I talk to a lot of people, and a lot I know they're not ready, and I'll sit there and I'll guide them, be like, "Yeah, I feel great, my health and fitness," and, like, stack one little baby habit, "Just get outside and take some deep breaths for 2 minutes, like, try that." Um, so everybody's so unique in their journey, but when somebody's ready, they know they're ready. I don't think their circle is their biggest influence. If their circle is supporting them, be like, "Hey man, you have to not go do those awesome brunches with the ladies. Don't drink. There's so many cool non-alcoholic drinks and you'll have just as much fun. Try it one time and see what happens." Um, and again, if it's those peer pressure of those girls or boys that are like, "Oh, come on, you can have one. It's fine. Jimmy won't know. It's fine." If you have that peer pressure of your circle's the problem.
Yeah.
And most people have a tough time. They're like, "Well, they're my best friends, and I grew up with them, and they're high school sweethearts, and they're my girls or they're my boys." Relationships have seasons,
Mhm.
and it took me a little while to learn that. I have some of those closest people that were at my house. One was at my house this weekend, but I haven't seen him in 8 months. Where I would see him every weekend, and we drink and we'd hammer through Maker's Mark, and it's like people just outgrow relationships. And not that he's a bad person, I love him to death. I just don't have him in my life every day.
Mhm. That's a
And I
really good
think
point.
a lot of people that I talk to are like, "Well, I don't want to give up my relationships." Well, you don't have to, but you also need to create new ones. If you want to create change, you have to get uncomfortable and until you're comfortable. And those seasons of relationships, so many people hold on to and they don't realize that their circle is the problem. Like back to my son, like until he gets out of that circle, nothing will change, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So my biggest advice is I'll ask people about their circle. And I think it all starts there. If you have those people that are just, "Oh, come on, have one shot," or, you know, I know people that are trying to quit smoking. They go to their friends, "Oh, I just had a couple cigarettes," and then they're good until they see their circle again. So it's like your circle just brings back this comfort or disrupts that change they're trying to create. So it's like you have to break that somehow, and it is really uncomfortable, I promise you, because I've done it.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I often tell people that, I'm going to ask them to do different things in the coaching arena. And it's because people often come to me with, they've had a few breaks, they've had a little bit of success, and then and things have gone back. And so what I tell them is, if you keep doing the things you're doing, you're going to get a little bit of success, and then you're going to be right back here. And so you have to be willing to do something different, and definitely evaluating who we're spending time with, and how that's impacting us and getting really honest about that. And, you know, there are always relationships that come and go. And what I always tell people is that, well, first of all, the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. And secondly, that when we change, the people around us have a response.
Mhm.
So they're going to respond somehow, whether it's support, whether it's pushback, whether it's fading away, whether it's, a full on, intervention that you shouldn't be pursuing a sober moment, right? Whatever it looks like, that is their business. That's their side of the street, and we're over
Mhm.
here living our best alcohol-free life, and people are going to respond to that because change is disruptive in relationships. And so out of that, we can let go of some of the need to massage it or fix it or be the people pleaser. And all of that is the work that we get to do when we're leaving alcohol behind. It's very, very challenging to try to do it in the midst of drinking. It just doesn't work that way.
Right.
Because the old patterns are going to supersede the new change that we're making. And alcohol is it's chemistry. So it's changing your brain, it's changing your ability to create that change that we want. And so, yeah, really good stuff there.
Yeah, it's like working out. Like, I talked to a lot of people because I lost 70 pounds and got healthy and just a lifestyle change. And we watch it every year, right? At January 1st, I'm losing 30 pounds. I'm losing 20 pounds. I'm losing 50 pounds. And we know the gyms are packed and subscriptions go through the roof, right? Of what if somebody, I'm going to lose 1 pound this week? 1 pound. We have these goals that sometimes they feel so unattainable of let's just micro them down to a little bit, right? It's like if you're doing 6 drinks a week or a day, do 5. Like stack those little baby wins because that's a win. If you were doing 6 and you did 5, that is a win. And stack those little baby wins and then do the following week. I'm going to only have 5 drinks. It's like we just hit the wall and like, I'm quitting drinking. Well, okay. That's a great goal, tough journey. How are we going to do it? Let's stack our little baby wins because when you go, oh, I had 4 drinks this week and you're off the curb and now you're like, you got to reset. Stack, hey, if you're going to quit cold turkey and you've had 8, 10, 5 drinks a day, whatever the case may be, win little baby wins. Do one, cut back one and stack those. And I think it helps so many more people to one, lose weight, don't have the big goals, great. But what are you going to do this week? And win this week, win the day. Because when we go that week and be like, oh, 30 pounds is so far away, I'm going to go have McMuffins and whatever, right? We look at that as a lose.
Mm.
If we could just stack little baby wins. A lot of people ask me, like, how did you do your morning routine? And be like, well, it took years to cold plunge, journal, breath work. It's like I stacked little baby wins. And now that's where I'm at 7 years later. But
Mm.
I had to stack those over time to win and get into that habit and get into that routine. Um, so yeah, it's tough, but stack little baby wins helps a lot.
Yes, I tell people I'm a big fan of saying lower the bar.
Hmm.
And, I think that sometimes people are like, "What? Don't you want excellence?" And it's like, it's not about that. It's about creating the first step in the journey so that one of the things I always say to my clients is that when people are ready to stop drinking alcohol, motivation is high. It's either high from pain or desire. And we've got to get into momentum. And that's the hardest thing. And so it is those little micro commitments that make all the difference so that
Hmm.
we lower the bar and we do the first thing, then it's not overwhelming. And because I also work as a nutritionist, and that's my other certification hat that I wear, I have people that want to come and they want to work on their oh, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to lose 30 pounds, stop smoking, rebuild my relationship with my. And I said, okay, great. I will pick you up off the floor in 14 days because you are going to crash and burn. And
Hmm.
it's not to be negative, but it's just that we have to create change in small increments so that it's lasting change. And, a lot of the neuroscience and neuroplasticity and what we know about the brain is exactly that. So, absolutely, small wins, lower the bar. That's the way to success.
Yep.
It's counterintuitive as it sounds.
Yeah, there's a great book that, you probably read it, Atomic Habits,
Mhm.
and it's just stacking those little baby wins, every day.
Yeah, I was going to ask you as our closing question, Ian, I'm curious. So you're an author. What are some of the favorite books that you have used to help cement this journey for you and to keep growing forward?
Oh, great question. They're all in the book, 'cause I a lot of, uh, tribute to them. Atomic Habits is one of them. Um, High Performance Habits, by Brendan Burchard. Um, what other The 4 Agreements is probably my number 1.
Mhm.
They kind of base that in rehab, right? It's, speak impeccable, always do your best, don't make assumptions, uh, don't take anything personal. Is like if you could live by those 4 and everybody read that book every year, life would be better for everybody. And if you could practice those.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, so those are probably 3 of my highlights. A lot of Ed Milet's book, The Power of One More, like one more rep, one more day. Um, you're sober. It's tough, right? And choose your hard. It's hard to be a drunk, sloppy idiot. Like I was a drunk idiot for 34 years. That was hard. 8 years sober, healthy, fit, lost 70 pounds. That's hard. It's like choose your hard.
Mhm.
And it's that neuroplasticity, man. It's sacking those little baby habits and those little wins every day. And books are phenomenal, or podcasts or audiobooks. I drive a lot, so I do a lot of audiobooks. And what do you feed in your mind? Like I do not watch the news. Um, I'm aware
Yay, something else we have in common. I love it.
I
Yeah.
hate the news. Like I read something not too long ago that like 3 minutes of the news affects your day 27% negatively, which is like
Surprise. Yeah.
get positive things in your world and around you. Like I leave little sticky notes for my kids and my gal, be like, "You're beautiful, you're amazing, I love you, tackle the world, win the day." Um, do those for yourself. Like my mirrors are filled with funny little quotes, or I'll hear something, I'll just write it down on a dry erase on a mirror that's, make an impact today, be the difference today. You are the one. Um, get that around your world and start. We're so filled with negative crap with our phones and social media, and it's just a flood of this dopamine hit, right?
Mhm.
Get that dopamine hit of like positive, get around good energy of people. And again, your circle. Are people that you're around giving you energy or sucking energy from you? Like I can go into some of my work business places and be like, ooh, this place has got a bad vibe. And then I can go into places and be like, man, the energy in this place is like just kinetic and you just feel it, right? It's like talking to you. Like I saw you instantly. It was like, man, this gal's got just a flooding of energy and glow.
Yeah.
And then we've all been around people that are like, man, they just sucked the life out of me in seconds. Like, how did that happen?
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Those people are in our world too, right? And
For
I
sure.
so much about, taking a step back and being very curious. Like one of the things that has been, I would say, in addition to sobriety, curiosity is really my superpower as well. I remember when I latched onto the idea that curiosity kills judgment, right? Is the antidote to judgment. So if I was to say, oh, I wonder what's going on with this person's energy, what's going on with them? What if their story is? What's beating them down so much? Where is it that they, why are they an Eeyore and not a Tigger like Terry?
Hmm.
And that allows me to take a step back because, man, it's hard to be in a place where somebody is struggling with their energetic field and they're vibrating, and that low vibration is really it's palpable, right? We feel
Yeah.
it,
It's
and
another thing we have in common. I love that. How people will cut off people in traffic and be like, or people are just, frowning. You hold the door for them, be like, what's going on in their world? And if you look for the good, there's probably maybe they ran over their cat. Maybe they just found out their grandmother died. You have no idea. People just aren't pricks to be pricks.
Mhm.
There's something that's going on in their world. And if you have compassion for people and you can go open the door and smile for them, that might change their day from them running over their cat or feeling sad that their grandma passed or whatever's going on in their world, right? There is always something. And don't let little things too is like I used to like get cut off in traffic, ruin my day. Like that guy was or gal like cut me off and I'll talk about it for and it'd be like, don't let little things, little moments, hiccups ruin your entire day. That was a moment. Let it go.
Mhm.
Right? And so many people carry that of like, "Oh my gosh, I spilled coffee this morning." I'd be like, "You're telling me this at 7 at night and you let that ruin your entire day?" Like, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it takes practice. I have always felt that I'm wired more toward that positive affect that Arthur Brooks talks about, if you do his PANIS assessment. I've learned to be a little bit more patient with people who are wired differently. And wouldn't the world be a strange and wonky place, Ian, if everybody was wired just like you and I?
Yep, it'd be a little weird.
It would be a little weird, right? It might be a whole lot of fun, but it might be just too
Uh,
much fun. It might just be too much positive energy.
mm.
Well, I've loved this conversation. Tell people how they can connect with you, find your book, and all the good stuff.
You can find Wild Ride to Sobriety on Amazon. You can look up the title Wild Ride to Sobriety or my name, Ian Fee. And then all my social media platforms, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram, it's just my name, Ian Fee. And they'll all pop up and you can find me there or ianfee.com has all the links also.
So you're a TikTok guy. How do you like TikTok?
I enjoy TikTok. It's easy to make videos. I do a lot of social media content, so I actually hired a gal that does a lot of posting for me. Um, yeah, I enjoy it. I get a lot of good positive feedback on there.
I can see that because your energy is probably going to come through for people who listen to this podcast, but the vibration that you have when I'm watching you and your animation and your laughter is so cool that I imagine a lot of that comes through on the videos.
Some of them are quite humorous.
I love that. Well, I love that we got to laugh together today. Thank you so much for being a guest here on the Sober Edge podcast, and I wish you all the best.
Back at you and keep making a difference on people, man. You're crushing it. So it's great to see.
Thank you. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Sober Edge podcast. This is a place for important conversations and a safe place to question everything you thought you knew about drinking. If you're looking for your sober edge, I want to invite you to connect with me at thesobernutritionist.com, where you can grab my free resource, Becoming More, a guide to loving your sober life. And I would be so grateful if you enjoyed this podcast, if you would leave a rating and review, as it will help more people find their sober edge.